Today we are going to be talking about all of the European women who have ever held the title of Miss Universe. Now, I feel like I need to clarify right at the beginning of this video because there have been a lot of ethnically European women from all over the world who have held the title of Miss Universe, but I am talking about nationality in this video. Women who were representing European countries when they won the title of Miss Universe. One of the most famous European women to ever win Miss Universe is, of course, the very first Miss Universe, Armi, who was representing Finland at Miss Universe 1952. She was actually only 17 years old and she won the title of Miss Universe, the very first one, on the 28th of June 1952. She's now 90 years old and thankfully still alive. She actually resigned as Miss Universe shortly before her reign was supposed to end because she had met and fell in love with a Filipino businessman named Virgilio Hilario, and she wanted to marry him. Keep in mind that at this point she was only just 18, but they got married on the 4th of May in 1953, which was 2 months before Miss Universe 1953 happened. And Armi and Virgilio stayed married until his death in 1975, and they even had 5 children together, and in 1978 she remarried a man named Albert Williams. Like I said, Armi was the first Miss Universe and she had blonde hair and blue eyes. It's incredible to think that the current owner of Miss Universe's idea of an evolutionary peak for Miss Universe happened already at the very first edition in 1952.
Which are your strategic steps for the evolution of beauty pageant?
Evolution. We have blonde and blue eyes. So we come to the ultimate evolution already.
That's a big step, I know.
We don't need any more revolution here. We get the best here, right?
In 1953, Christiane Martel from France captured the Miss Universe title at just 18 years old on the 17th of July 1953. Whilst the first Miss Universe was settling into married life, 18-year-old Christiane Martel from France was crowned Miss Universe 1953. Christiane is actually of Italian heritage and has appeared in many popular international films in the Latin world. Her love life was much more scandalous than her predecessor. Of course, her role as Miss Universe also gave her access to high-profile men. Christiane married a 21-year-old department store heir named Ronnie Marengo. Honestly, just never trust a man named Ronnie. And this was a lavish wedding attended by 1,000 guests, but they divorced only 70 days later. This diva was divorced before the age of 21, and she even said that she would marry a much older man next time, implying that Ronnie was immature. According to him, her not wanting to give up her acting career to become a barefoot and pregnant housewife was the problem. As promised, Christiane did remarry in 1961, but the new man in question was only 3 years older than her. Nonetheless, they've remained married and have 4 children together. They're both still alive and she is 89 while he is 92. In 1955, Sweden was the winner of Miss Universe and the beautiful Hillevi Rombin was the lucky woman in question. She was only 21 years old and she captured the title on the 22nd of July 1955. Hillevi was a much less scandalous Miss Universe title holder than we have been used to. She seems like a very level-headed lady, to be honest. Yes, she met her future husband during her reign as Miss Universe, but she waited 2 years after her reign to marry him. They seem to have a very happily married life together until, unfortunately, on the 19th of June in 1996, they perished together in a private plane accident together with one of their sons who was piloting the plane. In 1961, Germany's Marlene Schmidt, who was 23 years old, captured the title on the 15th of July 1961. Marlene is yet another Miss Universe who was unlucky in love, although her one and only husband ended up having a total of 8 wives, so I doubt she was the problem, to be honest with you. She actually married quite the notable Hollywood actor, Ty Harden, but they divorced after 3 years of marriage and 1 daughter together, which is her only child. After divorcing Harden at the age of 27, Marlene never married again and she is currently 87 years old and still living in Germany. In 1964, 20-year-old Corinna Tsopei from Greece captured the title of Miss Universe on the 1st of August 1964. Corinna is a chairperson of an organization for children with leukemia. After her reign as Miss Universe, she also ended up having 3 sons. She was married twice, once when she was 24 to a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon named Steven Zacks. He's also the father of all of her children, but the marriage unfortunately ended after 10 years. At the age of 37, she married her second husband, Freddie Fields, and they remained married until his death from lung cancer in 2007. Corinna is currently 80 years old and living in Los Angeles. In 1966, Sweden once again won the Miss Universe title with Margareta Arvidsson, who was 18 years old, winning the title on 16th of July 1966. After her reign as Miss Universe, Margareta married Otto Stupakov, who was 13 years her senior in 1969. They unfortunately divorced after 9 years, but they did have 2 children together. She was also a Ford model in the 1970s, but this was also the decade where she was diagnosed with Addison's disease or primary adrenal insufficiency. Margareta is now 77 years old and is currently living in Fairfield, Iowa in the United States. In 1974, 20-year-old Amparo Munoz won the Miss Universe title on behalf of Spain, and this happened on the 19th of July 1974. And honestly, I've always seen Amparo as one of the most tragic Miss Universe winners. First of all, she resigned from the Miss Universe title after 6 months as Miss Universe. Reportedly, she was very homesick and refused to perform Miss Universe duties on more than one occasion. She allegedly even threw her crown against a wall once. To make matters even worse, the crown couldn't even go to a runner-up, Helen Morgan from Wales, because she herself went on to not only win Miss World but also be dethroned as Miss World because she had a child. Amparo went on to have somewhat of a successful film career, but she was very unlucky in love, it seems. In her memoirs, she wrote about her first husband, Patsy Andion, she alleged crushed her dreams. Her second husband, Chilean Flavio Labarca, she claimed brought drugs into her life. She was even arrested for alleged heroin possession once. Her third husband, she separated from after only 3 years of marriage. By all accounts, Amparo had a very bad temper and was definitely not afraid to enforce her will. Unfortunately, she did pass away in 2011 at the age of 56. She died after having been diagnosed with a brain tumor in 2003. In 1975, Finland's Anne-Marie Pohtamo, who was 19 years old, won the crown of Miss Universe on the 19th of July 1975. This is the woman who Amparo was meant to crown, but unfortunately due to Amparo's resignation, Anne-Marie ended up having to be crowned by Miss Universe 1972, Kerry Ann Wells, who was asked to do so by the Miss Universe organization. Anne-Marie is the second woman from Finland to win the Miss Universe title. She was also a model at Wilhelmina Models for 5 years before moving back to Finland and marrying her childhood sweetheart and having 4 children with him. Luckily, by all accounts, she has lived a pretty happy life. She is currently 69 years old and still going strong. In 1984, Sweden's Yvonne Ryding, who was 21 years old, won the title of Miss Universe on the 9th of July 1984. Yvonne is the 3rd Swedish woman in the history of Miss Universe to hold the title. She married a Swedish actor in 1988, but they divorced in the year 2000. They did have 2 daughters together, however. Unfortunately, after Yvonne's 1984 win, Sweden hasn't managed another Miss Universe crown yet. Yvonne is now 62 years old and still living a vibrant life. In 1989, the Netherlands' Angela Visser, who was 22 years old, won the Miss Universe title on the 23rd of May 1989. Angela originally competed at Miss World 1989 but failed to place in the top 10. Luckily, she had what Miss Universe seemed to look for. After her reign as Miss Universe, she appeared in many TV shows, including the very popular American sitcom Friends, Beverly Hills 90210, and Baywatch. Angela later married her husband and they share 1 daughter together Now at the age of 58, she seems to be enjoying life very much. In 1990, Norway's Mona Grudt was the one to be crowned Miss Universe. She was only 19 years old and she was crowned on the 15th of April 1990. Mona is so far the only Norwegian woman to win Miss Universe. During her time at Miss Universe 1990, she listed herself as the beauty queen from hell, but this is only because she was born in a Norwegian village named Hell, which ironically means luck in Norwegian. During her reign as Miss Universe, she even appeared in a Star Trek episode. Her life after Miss Universe consisted of a career as the editor of a Norwegian wedding magazine and also as the host of Norway's Next Top Model. Mona married in 1995, but she was unfortunately divorced in 1999. She once again got married in 2005, but divorced 7 years later in 2012. In total, Mona has 3 children. She is now 53 years old and living in Norway still. In 2002, arguably one of the most iconic and divisive Miss Universes ever was crowned. Russia's own Oxana Fedorova, who was 24 years old, was crowned Miss Universe on the 29th of May 2002. Another very controversial Miss Universe winner, Oxana Fedorova was the first ever Miss Universe to be dethroned. I've made a whole video about Oxana and that saga, but let me just say, her treatment on the Howard Stern show was unacceptable, and I am not surprised that she did not want to perform any more Miss Universe duties after that. I mostly respect Oxana, to be honest with you. I mean, even prior to Miss Universe, she worked as a police officer and investigator whilst attending university. She had a PhD in civil law, for goodness sake, and even taught civil law to students. I don't think she has a problem with work ethic. Everything about her seems very, very hardworking. I think she just simply had too much self-respect to accept some of the treatment that she received as Miss Universe. Anyway, after she was dethroned, the crown went to Justine Pasek from Panama, who was the first runner-up at Miss Universe 2002. After Miss Universe, Oxana was involved in many television opportunities in Russia. She also married twice, once in 2007, but she got divorced in 2010 and then remarried in 2011. She's now 47 years old, still married, and she has 2 children. In 2016, Iris Mittenaere, who was 24 years old, was crowned Miss Universe. She is of course from France and she was crowned on the 30th of January 2017. Up until very recently, Iris was the most recent Miss Universe from Europe. Although Iris is among my favorite Miss Universe winners, she has not been very lucky in love. In 2022, she got engaged after a 3-year relationship, but unfortunately the engagement was cut off and the relationship ended. In 2024, she dated a man who was 8 years her junior. In September of that year, she filed a complaint for domestic violence and drug use against her 22-year-old boyfriend, who was subsequently sentenced to 12 months in prison, 2 years of probation, and given a fine of 2,000 euros for damages. Despite all of this, Iris has been true to her Miss Universe nature and remained poised and dignified, not to mention very, very successful. The most recent Miss Universe from Europe is of course our reigning Miss Universe 2024, Victoria Theilvig from Denmark. She's only 21 years old and of course she was crowned on the 16th of November 2024. Finally, the woman of the moment, we get to discuss her. Victoria Theilvig was never even supposed to compete at Miss Universe. The originally crowned Miss Denmark of 2024, Emma Hayst, didn't want to compete at Miss Universe 2024 because she didn't feel like she had enough time to prepare. Victoria was actually the second runner-up, not at Miss Denmark 2024, but all the way back in 2021. She actually represented Denmark at Miss Grand International 2022 and got into the top 20. In recent years, she has been working closely with Miss Denmark and the Miss Denmark contestants, mentoring them. And so when Emma Hayes didn't want to go to Miss Universe, Victoria was a very good choice as an appointee to Miss Universe 2024, although I do wonder how Emma's first runner-up felt about all of this. Anyway, I think Victoria was a lucky beneficiary of divine timing, and she is the very first woman from Denmark to be crowned Miss Universe. Obviously, we're not very far into her reign right now, but we'll have to see how it goes still. So yes, that is every nationally European woman to have ever held the title of Miss Universe. Let me know what you guys think about all of this. I'd love to know. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe and I will see you in the next one. Bye!